Is this a good check? All right, so this morning or this afternoon, I will be reading from my novel, NIGIRO Rising. I'm gonna put one down. Okay, cool. I'm gonna be reading from NIGIRO Rising. I have two books in the series, Out of NIGIRO and NIGIRO Rising. So my name is Patricia Hopkins. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, but now I call Oklahoma City my home. Here's a brief description of NIGIRO Rising. 3 years after 16-year-old Kenya went missing from the streets of St. Louis, her family has finally reached a point in their lives where they can move on, or so they thought. Every story has two sides, but the truth lives somewhere in the middle. Told from the viewpoint of Kenya's mother, NIGIRO Rising picks up where the Out of NIGIRO left off. Out of NIGIRO is written from the 16-year-old Kenya's viewpoint, and this is written from her mother's viewpoint. I'm reading an excerpt from chapter 6. Please enjoy. NIGIRO Rising, chapter 6. Shortly after moving to Oklahoma City, I became aware that on Saturdays at noon, a siren blasted out over the entire metropolitan region. No matter where I happened to be in the city, at home or out shopping, I heard it. At first, I had no idea what the loud, high-pitched sound was, other than it was annoying. What I eventually learned was the siren was a test of the early warning system for tornadoes. When those sirens blared any day or time other than high noon on Saturday, Okies knew to take shelter, because more than likely a twister was coming their way. The only exception to the weekly test was if there was already an active storm in session. City officials understood that testing a system while storms were in the vicinity could possibly send a metro into a frenzy. The early mail notification we received from the post office indicated a letter postmarked with a return address from a prominent New York publisher would be delivered today. As I stood in my doorway, waiting patiently for the mail carrier, I glanced at the decorative clock sitting on the foyer table, noticing the time was now 1:11 p.m. I realized the warning sirens had not sounded. A flash of lightning momentarily drew my attention towards the sky. I spotted the familiar mail carrier van just 2 houses down. That's also when I saw the source of the lightning. A line of thunderstorms had formed not too far off in the distance, and waves of rumbling thunder preceded the storm's arrival. Its ceiling was so low that you could actually watch the dark, tumultuous, fast-moving clouds heading our way. Honey, can you please get the mail before the rain starts? I shouted to Gerald, who was somewhere back in the house. The mailman is almost here. Be right there. Hurry, it's about to start raining, I shouted. Gerald rushed back past me as the van pulled away. He called out, I'll be right back. I could barely contain my excitement about the content of the letter. Of all the publishers I submitted the book's excerpt to, I was sure this one would be good news. I hope this agency will be just as enthusiastic about publishing Kenya's story as I was about getting it published. After all, the publishing company is owned by a black woman. Got it. Gerald shouted as he got back to the house, barely missing the first heavy drops of rain. He dropped the mail on the narrow table alongside a small container where we kept the car keys. I leafed through the stack of mail looking for the letter. At that point, our phones began to simultaneously sound off. I put the mail down. The letter could wait. According to the weather alerts, a strong cold front had developed in the southwest, bringing with it the potential for high winds and very strong storms. Bolts of lightning lit up the western portion of the sky, indicating the storm was nearby. And 5 seconds later, a round of thunderous boom shook the whole house. Everyone was normally on edge this time of year because it was tornado season. It's coming down pretty good out there, he remarked, wiping the rain from his face. I sniffed the air. Do you smell that? I asked, monitoring the approaching storm from the safety of the doorway. The unique fragrance of electricity charged the air to negative ions coming down through the clouds connected with positive ions emanating up from the ground. I was surprised to learn that when it comes to ions, increasing the negative ions in one's environment is much better than increasing the positive. Yeah, I do, Gerald replied, changing the television to the local news. Let's see what's going on up there. I watched in fascination as the darkest clouds I've ever seen slowly began to rotate. Entranced by the natural phenomenon fueled by the power of the wind to I whispered, "It's beautiful in an awe-inspiring sort of way." "Well, this whole beautiful doesn't turn ugly," he muttered to himself, focusing his attention on the weather report. A low-hanging wall cloud, dark gray with an ominous greenish tint, the strongest storm that I've seen in a while, ready to drop down and further rotate. The howling wind was fierce, soon showering down quarter-sized hail and such large quantities that the street appeared to be covered with snow. As I listened to the high-pitched, adrenaline-tinged voice of the weatherman shouting to the tornado chasers on the ground, becoming more excited than he probably should have, I spotted something very strange embedded within the approaching storm clouds. Whatever it was massive. Then I became aware that I was about to experience something magnificent. "What in the world?" I whispered, poking my head out the front door. Sheets of rain were coming down sideways, preventing me from going out any further. I closed the door and ran through the house to the kitchen, hoping to get a better look from the back door. "Where are you going?" Gerald called out excitedly, his eyes glued to the television. Now, my husband was normally a very calm man and rarely allowed any situation to get to him. Since he had grown up in a little town outside of Tulsa, he recognized the warning signs associated with tornadic activity. So when he began to get nervous, I clearly understood we might be in danger. Nevertheless, ignoring my husband's rising concern, I cautiously opened the back door to watch the storm develop. A succession of lightning flashes lit up something within the clouds. I stood as still as possible to avoid losing sight of whatever that thing was. I watched in fascination as the rain rapidly dispersed around the object like beads of water falling from the freshly wet air. "Honey, come out here, hurry, something's in a storm," I called over my shoulder. "Samira, get away from the door," Gerald yelled, running towards me. "A tornado was spotted just a few miles away. It's headed in our direction." Listening to the weatherman practically screaming for everyone to take shelter, it almost put me on edge too. Most Okies learned from childhood that the safest place to survive a tornado was underground. So when we found a house built with a nest thing, a reinforced walk-in closet that also doubled as a safe house and shelter, we were sold. A thunderous bolt of lightning must have connected with something on the ground nearby because an indescribably loud noise that sounded like the sky itself was ripping apart came from above the house. Suddenly, the electricity went out, leaving us in a darkness more akin to nighttime in the middle of the afternoon. "Hold on," I shouted, stepping outside. "I want to get a closer look." "What are you doing?" Gerald shouted. He tugged at my arm, his voice raised by adrenaline. "We have to get inside." "Wait a minute," I said, almost too calmly. Kenya's words came to mind. The NIGIRO can disguise the arrival of their spaceships within the midst of powerful storms. I don't think this is a tornado. "Samira, this is not the time to argue. We have to take shelter now." "Gerald, listen to me. This ain't no tornado." "What are you talking about? One was spotted just a few streets over. Look, there's something in the clouds." I quickly motioned for him to join me under the overhang of the patio. I wasn't afraid. That fact alone should have frightened me. But I felt no fear, none at all. And it was an exquisite feeling. "Woman, get your butt inside this house." "Wait a minute," I shouted, pointing to the sky. "Look, what is so important that you're trying to get us killed?" Gerald yelled, reluctantly stepping outside to the patio. And all at once, just like the snapping of fingers, the wind stopped howling. The rain ceased to fall, the powerful sounds of thunder grew silent, and the bolts of lightning flashed no more. The sun now shone brightly in the partly cloudy sky. With the exception of the calming sounds of nature, it was quiet, too quiet. Gerald turned to me and whispered, "Samira, what the hell is going on?" "I don't know," I replied, resting my hand on his for reassurance. The rapid pace of his heartbeat was in total sync to mine. He looked to the sky and said, "What happened to the storm?" As we were both trying to figure out what was going on, our attention was drawn overhead. What I had first spotted cloaked within the storm was now fully visible in the sky. Now, I probably should have been terrified, but I wasn't. On the contrary, I was astonished. to see a real, live, unidentified flying object. And that concludes my excerpt from chapter 6. My books are available at Bell Books, and they're also available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Please follow me on my website at www.patriciahopkins.com. Thank you so much.